Hey, I'm Dean and this is Legacy Voyage. In season 1, I'm documenting my journey to earning my first 100K net worth as a full-time college student. Join me as I share some of the lessons I learned along the way. Man, I've learned so much over these past couple days that it's kind of getting hard to keep track of everything and document all the things I learned. So before I go into that, let me give a little update of what I've been up to. In terms of Mana Ecom, I wrote a video sales script for that. And I'm also going to look into the email marketing campaign, and then I'll give an update on how that goes. And then with Coach V, um, I think all we did was the funnels. Yeah, I think that was all we did. And I'm gonna meet with him on Monday just to discuss some more about plans for the future. For him, I really want to create the perfect webinar, which is something that I'll talk about later, and it's something that I'm learning with Russell Brunson. Maybe I'll talk about it later in this episode. But one thing that I'm doing right now is I started reading this book called Influence, which is I think it's called The Psychology of Persuasion or something like that. But it talks a lot about psychology and persuasion. Some of the key takeaways, this is just the first chapter, but some of the big takeaways that I had was whenever you're asking for a favor, you're asking for someone to do something for you, always use the word because. Because when you use that word, conversions, or you're more likely to convert, or they're more likely to do what you're asking. For example, if you say, "Can I cut in line? Can I cut you in line really quick because I'm in a rush?" Or you say because, and it doesn't even have to be a good reason. It could be, "Can I cut you in line because I'm trying to get this thing faster?" Or it could also be, "Can I get this thing from you because I want this thing from you?" It doesn't have to be a good reason, but as long as you use the word because, they're more likely to do that thing that you're asking them to do. And that was a pretty cool thing. Another lesson I learned was people perceive expensive stuff as more valuable. So basically, expensive equals good. And you really see this a lot with those luxury designer brands like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Balenciaga, all these big time brands. They price their stuff so extremely high, even though it really might not be the best quality or the best so and so or best whatever. It's just so expensive that we perceive it as good. And that's a part of what we see as valuable because it's just so easy to distinguish something as good if it's expensive. And then another thing I learned was this thing called the contrast principle, which is when you're comparing two things, one right after the other, and they're relatively the same, you see them, the difference is more exaggerated. That's kind of hard to understand, so let me try to break it down. If I'm, for example, or if you are lifting a 5 pound dumbbell, or not, it doesn't have to be 5 pounds. Let's go something heavy like 100 pound weight. If you're lifting a super heavy weight, you pick it off the ground, it's super heavy. And then right after that, you go to something that's light or lighter, it'll feel a lot lighter than it would have otherwise. Does that make sense? Let me try to break it down in a different scenario. This one's I think it's easier to understand. If you have two buckets in front of you, one is full of hot water and then one is full of cold water. You put your right hand into the hot water, your left hand into the cold water. You leave it there for a couple seconds, and then you take both of them out and then put them into a room temperature water. Just a nice lukewarm bucket of water. Now your right hand is going to feel a lot colder than it would have, and then your left hand is going to feel a lot warmer. And the key thing behind this is that it's It's relatively the same, that it's water and it has some type of temperature, but it has a more exaggerated difference where the same room temperature water seems super hot for the cold hand, and it also seems super cold for the warm hand. Hopefully, you were able to follow that analogy, but that was something super cool that I learned. And you see this a lot with realtors and car salesmen, where realtors will find a house for someone that they actually want them to buy, and before showing them that house, they'll take them to a bummy house, like a worn down. They know for sure the client isn't gonna buy. Take them to like two or three houses of those, and then after that, take them to the house that they really want them to buy. Because in the client's mind, they'll see the actual house that they want them to buy as more valuable and better than all the bad houses that they just saw. And then the way car salesmen do this is they'll do the same type of idea where a car salesman will show a client or a potential customer a bunch of bummy cars, like cars that they definitely are not gonna buy, and then they'll take them to the car that they actually want to buy, like a super cool truck or a super cool Lamborghini or something like that. And then in the client's mind, they're more likely to buy because they see the car that they actually want to buy as way better than all these bummy cars they just saw. So that was honestly just the first chapter of that book, and it is crazy valuable. Not even to mention all the other stuff I've learned. So let me try to dive into that. I guess I'll start off with day one of Russell Brunson's Expert Secrets book, which he literally just turned his book into a course that I'm working through right now, and it is crazy valuable. So let me go through this. He basically talks about how to create your mass movement. And this is your tribe, it's your culture. It's like a it's like not just some type of business that's kind of successful. It's like creating a following of a whole bunch of people that really are a part of your movement, which is crazy to think about, but that's exactly what Russell Brunson is doing with his following of funnel hackers is the term for it. And then you think of let me think of some Apple users, Steve Jobs creating this huge culture of people who love Apple. Grant Cardone he's big on this, like the 10x tribe, a whole bunch of people who love the 10x idea, like creating these huge movements that people love and people are a part of. And these are the cultures, or he calls them cultures with a little like like culture. He talks about that a lot. And one of the first things you really have to have is a charismatic leader. First of all, let me backtrack. Let me backtrack. He basically looked at all the historical mass movements and crazy cultures, or not crazy cultures, but incredibly successful movements. And this framework applies to every mass movement in the history of the world. This it applies to the worst of the worst, like Hitler with the Nazis, and applies to Christ with Christians. And there's three things that you need for creating a mass movement. Number one is a charismatic leader or an attractive character. Russell Brunson really likes calling it an attractive character, but it really is just a charismatic leader, someone who the followers can look to lead them. Number one, charismatic leader. Number two is the cause, what the future is going to look like, what the new thing that they're introducing, which is a part of step three, a new opportunity. And the new opportunity is different from what everyone else is offering. This is a new thing that's going to take these people to where they want to go, which is the cause. So applying this type of idea to, for example, Christ was this charismatic leader, and his cause was to bring salvation and everlasting, what's the word? Happiness. It was to bring salvation to all these people, and the new opportunity was his new covenant where people didn't have to go around killing animals anymore. They could go and through Christ's sacrifice, they could be baptized or go to heaven. It's this new opportunity that he's providing them. And he could also apply the same framework to Hitler, which is kind of crazy to think about that both of these movements are so vastly different and are on completely opposite sides of the spectrum, but they both have these common things where number one, they have a charismatic leader, number two, they have a cause, and number three, they have a new opportunity. Now, there's another thing that I taught in this, which was the secret formula. And this is really more applying it to the business side of things, where if you can break down the secret formula, then you will be successful in the business. And it goes like this. Who is your dream customer? Number one, who's your dream customer? Where are these dream customers congregating? Where are they on the internet or in real life in groups of? Number three is the bait, what you're gonna put out there to hook them into your opportunity to get them to buy your thing. And then the result or the offer is gonna be what's your offering or what's your thing that you want them to achieve or accomplish. That's the secret formula, and it's honestly huge because one of the big lessons from the secret formula is that people who have common interests and people who like the same things are gonna congregate or they're gonna be together in a group. For example, people, let me try to think of this. Like for example, Polynesians. Polynesians are gonna group together in rugby because we just love rugby. That's where we're gonna all come together and group up. So those are where you're gonna find Polynesians. And then on online, you're gonna find Polynesians grouping up on Polynesian accounts. So like those poly influencers, Tongan, Samoan, all these influencers, they're gonna group up there. And all you have to do is once you identify your dream customers, try to find where they're congregating, where they're grouping up, where they're partnering and discussing things that they're interested in. You're gonna go find them and then put something out there to attract their attention. And then once you attract their attention, you put your offer out there. You say, I'm gonna give you this result, this big result, and then fulfill it. And that's how you bring in new customers. And when we're trying to think through this, he talks about there's really three markets when we're thinking about the result that we're giving someone, and it's health, wealth, and relationships. So we're either going to be helping someone in their health, which is like diet, nutrition, strength training, weight loss, or we're going to help them in wealth, which would be investing, finance, real estate, sales, or it's going to be relationships. And this will be love, marriage, dating. That's where relationships are going to be. And these are the three main markets of what everyone offers in the world. You can apply it to these three things. And sometimes you'll have people who offer all three or parts of just two of them. Like for example, Tony Robbins definitely offers all three of these things. But the thing is, when we're trying to create a business, it's important to carve out a niche for ourselves. And the analogy that Russell Brunson uses is called red ocean versus blue ocean. And red ocean is it's the bloodied waters where everyone is competing with each other. And this is if you don't have a good niche or if you don't have a good target market. So these bloody red waters are where everyone else is fighting. But if you can go to a blue ocean, blue waters where there's so much opportunity, then you can create your own market or your own ecosystem for where you can thrive. And the analogy here goes where if you're trying to fish and you go to where everyone else is fishing, it's you're not gonna get any fish. Or you might get some fish, but it's gonna be tough. Whereas if you if you go to a new pond, lake, or ocean where no one else is at, then all that fish is all yours. All that opportunity is all yours. And Russell Brunson, the way he terms it is don't pick a niche, create your niche. Like this is something that only you should be doing. You specialize in this thing. And the way you carve out your niche is really three things. Let me try to walk through this. So there's the three markets, which is health, wealth, and relationships. So you have those three markets, and then under that you'll have a sub-market, which is, for example, one of the three markets could be health, and then the sub-market of that would be diet. And then your niche would be the keto diet or some specific diet. Another example, we'll do we'll do wealth. And if you're one of the three markets is wealth, the sub market would be investing, and then the third market would be, or your niche would be investing in e-commerce businesses. That's your niche. And really the key thing is creating your niche, which is similar to what a lot of people call USP, which is your unique selling proposition. It's exactly what makes you unique or what makes you stand out from everyone else in your market. And one of the cool tips or advice that he gives is to look for irrationally passionate people. Look for people who are super passionate about their thing that they're just bringing it up in every conversation or they can't stop talking about it because that's how passionate they are about these things. And it's also super important to find people who are willing and able to buy. For example, engineers might be able to buy something, but they're not willing to do it. Like engineers are able to buy some type of coaching program, but they're not willing, or usually they're not willing to buy it because they don't they're not into coaching in that way. Or kids they'll really want to buy a new game that's coming out or a new video game. They're really willing to buy it, but they don't have the money. They are not able. So it's super important to find people who are both willing and able to buy. And jumping off of this is a lot of information that I'm just compressing into this one episode, but I really want to just get it out there because I haven't talked about it before, and I really should bring it up because that was my goal with this podcast. But this connects to something else that Russell Brunson teaches a lot, which is I think it's called like the formula to success or something like that. And there's three things with it. One is uh, I think one is find people who find a hungry market or a starving market. Let me let me pull it up real quick because it's super powerful and I really want to share this. Right here. It's called Simple Formula for Success. Number one is you find a hot market. You find people who are willing and able to buy. Number two, you ask them what they want. And then number three, you give it to them. It's that simple. It's so crazy to think about, but it's really exactly what Steve Jobs did when he was creating the iPod. He found a hot market, a whole bunch of people who were willing to buy and listen to music, asked them, "Hey, what do you guys want?" And then he just gave them the iPod. That's what Russell Brunson did with ClickFunnels. A whole bunch of marketers struggling to make funnels. Hey, what do you guys want? We want a software to build funnels that'll make it a lot easier. And then he just gave it to them. That is a super crazy thing to think about, but that was honestly mind blowing when he brought that up because I never thought of it that way, but it's so true. You just find a hot market, ask them what they want, and then just give it to them because they're gonna want it. Okay, moving on. Man, there's so much stuff I learned. Maybe I should cut it short and then I'll go into the other stuff later. Yeah, let me because this is getting to 20 minutes, 20 minutes. Okay. Well, I'll go into the other stuff later. We're just talking about, man, there's so much stuff. I'll go into it later. But I really just wanted to document all those things I learned. While I learned those things, I'm still learning new stuff from his courses. It's crazy to think about, but I think the really important thing when I was talking with my dad that I learned is I have to put this stuff to action because I'm constantly looking at new courses that I want to buy and want to learn. But before I go on and move on to buying those courses, I really do and I really should put the stuff that I'm learning right now into action. And the way I should do that and focus on is applying it to Coach V and Mana Ecom. And it's so easy to get lost in all these other things. Honestly, over the past couple days, I've been looking at I think three or four other courses that I really, really want to buy, but I really should focus on this one thing. Like I've thought of doing affiliate marketing, or I think affiliate marketing is one of the big ones, but also launching other funnels like funnel hubs. Talk more about that in the future. All these other opportunities that I want to pursue, but before I do, I really, really have to focus on executing everything that I've learned because at the end of the day, I can learn all this cool stuff, all this new stuff, but if I don't act on it, it will be the same as if I never even knew it. And an analogy that I love that I learned this a while back, but it's a person who knows how to read but doesn't is exactly the same as someone who doesn't know how to read. And that's a huge lesson for me because learning all this information makes no difference in my life or anyone else's if I don't actually apply it. And I think talking about the information I've learned and all these things that I've learned will definitely help me in applying it to my life. And I hope someone listening will take everything I've learned and maybe apply it, but I honestly ran through so much content and compressed his I think each of his videos like 2 hours. I compressed like an hour of his content into 20 minutes. Not even 20, probably like 15 minutes because all this other time was other stuff. But I hope someone out there took away something. I think for the future of this podcast, I really just want to touch on it. I don't think it's gonna be as professional as it's been. Like I would go to a studio and try to record and in a place that wouldn't have any type of echo, and then I'd pass this audio through uh like an AI generator or AI software that will clean it up. But I think it's going to be a lot more raw and a lot more unstructured. I think the quality of the podcast might go down, but it'll keep my commitment to it up because it's a lot easier to do that type of content. And I also really just want to just talk, tell my story, tell things I've learned. But yeah, that's that's how I think I'm gonna continue this. It will probably change in the future, but we shall see. We shall see indeed. But till then, thou talk